Hello, and welcome to Songwriters Spotlight, the Western Mass Songwriters Collaborative Series. I'm Dr. Dan, your host of the show, where we feature Western Mass songwriters who perform their original songs and talk about the art of songwriting. Stay tuned to explore more about music and the tunesmithing that creates it. This episode's featured songwriter is Peter Lehndorff. He writes folk and jazz songs about everyday life. Some are humorous, some are serious. They are observations about the things that happen to him and the stuff he sees. There are stories about cars, what he eats, and the places he has lived. He'll perform 6 of his songs and then sit down with me for a conversation about his songwriting. Stay tuned for Peter Lehndorff.
This song is called East Longmeadow. When I lived out in Colorado, I wrote a song called Aurora about a city outside of Denver with a lot of tract houses. When I moved back to Massachusetts, I thought I should recycle that song. And so I rewrote it to fit the area where I lived. Unfortunately, the town I lived, it didn't rhyme very well, so I decided to use East Longmeadow and rhyme it with that. Well, we all live in East Longmeadow, and we live in a house just like all the others. Water my lawn till it's nice and green. My wife has a garden, she grows beans, and we all live in East Longmeadow. Well, I drive every day down to Hartford. I got me a job in a skyscraper. I wear a jacket, I wear a tie, I sell insurance. I'm a nice guy, so we can live in East Longmeadow. I just bought an American car. It's a station wagon with fake wood vinyl on the sides, gets 10 miles to the gallon, so we can get around in East Longmeadow. And we all live in East Longmeadow, and we live in a house just like all the others. Water my lawn till it's nice and green. My wife has a garden, she grows beans, and we all live in East Longmeadow. Well, I've got 2 great kids, I'm not bragging. I keep them in the back of that station wagon. They get up in the morning, they go to school. One's below average, the other's a fool. But we all live in East Longmeadow. And we all live in East Longmeadow. And we live in a house just like all the others. Water my lawn till it's nice and green. My wife has a garden, she grows beans, and we all live in East Longmeadow. Well, I drove home one night to my house. I said good evening to my spouse. Grabbed my dinner, started to watch TV. I noticed everybody all staring at me. It was the wrong house in East Longmeadow. And we all live in East Longmeadow. And we live in a house just like all the others. Water my lawn till it's nice and green. My wife has a garden, she grows beans, and we all live in East Longmeadow. East Longmeadow, Massachusetts, USA. This song is called It Just Depends. It originally started out that it was going to be a song about dating, specifically trying to date after a 40-year marriage. I realized I wasn't ready, and this song is more of a conversation. There's a coat still in the closet. There's a purse by the door. There's a box of your things up on the second floor. I live in the same old house. I still have your old hound. Every day he walks in to see if you're around. But I still have a sense of humor, and I still have some real good friends. I'm easygoing, but sometimes it just depends. When I talk about the bad times, sometimes I have to laugh. Last month was your birthday. A few years now have passed. I tried to join that dating site, but I quit halfway through. They kept asking what I want. I kept describing you. I wrote, I've got a sense of humor, and I've got a bunch of friends. I'm easygoing, but sometimes it just depends. We both came with lots of baggage. We unpacked it over time. Now it fits in one suitcase. What was ours is just mine. The sun came through the curtains onto your side of the bed. I was drinking my morning coffee. I remembered what you said. You said, you've got a sense of humor, and you've got a bunch of friends. You're easygoing, although sometimes it just depends. You're easygoing, although sometimes it just depends. This song is called Love on the Line. It was the title song of my CD that was out on Signature Sounds back in the mid-90s. And it's the story of a long-distance relationship carried out on voicemail. Well, we have been married for a year or two. People think it's strange that I've never met you, but we were married on the telephone. So tell me that you love me after the tone. Tell me that you love me after the tone. Tell me that you love me and me alone. Buzz me, fax me, do it one more time, and let's put our marriage back on the line. Yeah, let's put our marriage back on the line. Well, I gave you a ring on our wedding day. You were in Chicago and I was in LA. Your dad was on his iPad. My mom zoomed from the mall. The priest called from the church. it was a conference call. Your friends logged on with FaceTime. Uncle Jim had gone to bowl. We marched down our aisles to the music on hold. Your brother played the touchstones for a hymn or two. The priest got on the line and we said our I do. Tell me that you love me after the tone. Tell me that you love me and me alone. Buzz me, fax me, do it one more time, and let's put our marriage back on the line. Yeah, let's put our marriage back on the line. Well, we had a great reception, if you pardon the pun. You cut the cake, babe, and FedEx me some. The honeymoon was awesome. We faxed until dawn. You faxed me from your sofa. I text you from my lawn. Well, absence, they say, makes the heart grow fonder. That's why I'm here and you're way out yonder. Now it's time to settle down and raise a kid or two. Your doctor said for me to mail this bottle to you. Tell me that you love me after the tone. Tell me that you love me alone. Buzz me, fax me, do it one more time, and let's put our marriage back on the line. Yeah, let's put our marriage back on the This song is called A Marriage of Convenience. I live on Main Street in a really small town in Massachusetts, and I used to walk down to our local convenience store and pick up milk and ice cream and things like that. And I noticed this young couple working there. Actually, he was working there, and she was dressed up like it was a date, keeping him company. And so I started to think about them, every time I'd go in, and then as songwriters do, I gave them names and created a life for them. Well, Billy worked on Main Street at the little store. He just bought a little truck, it was a 4x4. Monday on his day off, he was driving down the street. He was getting kinda hungry for something good to eat. For lunch he bought a Slurpee, he bought a Hostess pie. Then he saw her working there, was love at first sight. Heather was a pretty gal, she was tall, she was slim. He smiled at her, she smiled at him. He smiled right back again. It's a marriage of convenience, a marriage made in heaven. Billy works at the Cumberland Farms and Heather at the 7-Eleven. Well, Billy bought a Hostess pie almost every day. 4 or 5 weeks later, he asked her on a date. They said they might get married. They never reached second base. But Heather always kept a few condoms just in case. They kept each other company most days. rest of the week. Billy kept an eye on Heather, and she kept Billy on a short leash. Then one night at Billy's store while he was stocking shelves, Heather was off in the corner reading Cosmo to herself. It's a marriage of convenience, a marriage made in heaven. Billy works at the Cumberland Farms and Heather at the 7-Eleven. Well, a big old rusty car pulled up. It had one headlight out. A guy came in, he walked around, he was checking Heather out. He walked up to Billy and he pulled out a gun. Well, Heather knocked him out with a frozen burrito and a sack of hot dog buns. They vowed right then and there they'd never be apart. They had their wedding party in the 7-Eleven parking lot. All their guests had Slurpees, we all had Hostess pies. And one and all we offered this toast to the groom and his new bride. It's a marriage of convenience, it's a marriage made in heaven. Billy works at the Cumberland Farms and Heather at the 7-Eleven. Well, Billy and Heather, they run a little store. Heather had that burrito bronze that's hanging by the door. If you stop in to see them, tell them I said hi. And pick up a gallon of milk and a Hostess pie. It's a marriage of convenience, it's a marriage made in heaven. Billy works at the Cumberland Farms and Heather at the 7-Eleven. It's a marriage of convenience, it's a marriage made in heaven. Billy works at the Cumberland Farms and Heather at the 7-Eleven. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. This song is called Nothing Could Change My Love for You. It originally started out as just an instrumental. It was something that I liked to play just to loosen up. Then I wrote a set of lyrics to it that really weren't very good. It was a bad song. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. Then I went back to using it as an instrumental for a few years. And then about a few years ago, I came up with a new set of words, kind of fit my mindset at the time. Well, some people wonder what they could have been if they could go back and start over again, but nothing could change my love for you. I wish our life could have been a little easier, a little more fun, a little less theater, but nothing could change my love for you. I suppose I could have worked a little harder, been a little richer, been a little smarter. For rich or poor, good times or bad, I wouldn't change much about the love we've had. But nothing could change my love for you. No, nothing could change my love for you. We've had more ups than we've had downs. You pick me up when I'm on the ground, but nothing could change my love for you. Well, I love you, a bushel and a peck, a bushel and a peck, my heart's a wreck, but nothing changed my love for you. Sometimes you don't, sometimes you do. Sometimes I get a little confused. Sometimes I get a little bit flustered. Sorry about your cat and the dust buster, but nothing could change my love for you. But nothing could change my love for you. I suppose I could have worked a little harder, been a little richer, been a little smarter. Richer, poor, good times or bad, I wouldn't change much about the love we've had. Happiness, they say, can't buy money, and hindsight's always 20/20. But nothing could change my love for you. But nothing could change my love for you. No, nothing could change my love for you. This song is called So Far, So Good. When my late wife was in hospice, her visiting nurse Sharon would come over every other night to check on her, and one night she said, as she was leaving, well, so far, so good. I used to think too much about my bucket list. Is the glass half empty? Maybe the glass is too damn big. Woke up each morning, you were smiling at me. When I looked into your eyes, you were all I need. After every rainstorm, after that hurricane, after it snows like hell, the sun always comes out again. Things are what they were, they will be what they are. People said we were going places, and we did, just not far. So far, so good, doing okay, feeling pretty good. Can't complain, knock on wood. So far, so good. When I was 50, things were a little iffy. And when I turned 60, I just said, oh, what the hell. I wish you were with me. I wish you were near. I wish I could show you that we're doing okay right here. So far, so good, doing okay, feeling pretty good. Can't complain, knock on wood. So far, so good.
Peter Lehndorff, that's some great music you recorded for us. A nice review of the different aspects of your songwriting. Very, very enjoyable. Thank you.
Oh, thanks a lot, Dan.
Yeah, sure. Always enjoy hearing you perform and thinking about your songs. So we want to talk about your songwriting. What started you writing songs?
I guess in high school I was playing guitar and writing a few songs, very personal, sappy songs, and then putting music to certain poems. And I was writing a lot of poetry in high school, and so then I started rhyming things and putting them into music and doing that type of thing. So that's kind of how it started. Then I started trying to do more funny types of songs and parodies and things like that. So that's how it kind of evolved.
So when did the parody start?
That started pretty early because it's a really easy way to make songs. I mean, and I would listen to things like I'm trying to think. I like Alan Sherman or different. Those were all like they took an existing, song like Frere Jacques or something like that and put different lyrics to them. But
Hey, so it was kind of like a primal thing for you. About the time you figured out how to write, you started doing it.
yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
And then I think also listening to people like Tom Paxton and just sing about all different kinds of little things, the little things in life, that I started to write songs about it.
Huh. Okay. Any estimate on how many songs you've written?
Oh, geez, no. Not all of them are good, but I've written some clunkers. But I think you have to write the clunkers to get to the decent ones.
Yeah. So somewhere you have a file full of not so good songs.
I've got, or it's, I wouldn't say they're not so good. They were never finished enough to be good, or to be presentable. So, I might do it at an open mic or something like that. At Luthier's open mic or something like that. But they usually, actually Luthier's, it was after it was a little bit fleshed out.
Well, there's some demand for quality at the open mic.
Yeah.
So let me see. So what makes you want to write a song?
Boy. Sometimes once you get into it, you can't stop. It's like you think, oh, that's working, and then just things start falling into place, whether it's a story or a pun or a joke or a phrase. So sometimes I'll hear a phrase and then I'll think, well, what could I do with that? Or, is it a story? How can I twist that? So sometimes it starts with a cliche or a metaphor or something like that, and then you start writing the song, and sometimes by the time you're done with the song, that line isn't even in the song anymore. So sometimes it becomes something else, but it's just kind of it kind of leads you a certain way. And then there's some other times that I really want to write a song about a certain topic, and I just keep on working at it until I get it.
Well, it makes me wonder, is this like a nonstop thing for you? I mean, you just, while you're awake, you're thinking about songs? No?
No, I go through these big dry periods. Like recently I hadn't written a song. I'm a slow writer. It takes me a long time to write a song or to edit a song. And sometimes it'll take, sometimes people give me an idea and they say, well, you need to write a song about this. And then I try sometimes I need prompts. I need homework sometimes. Like there was one song, I didn't do it for the songs that you have, but I went to a songwriting workshop, and the workshop instructor paired me up with this other guy, Ray Welch from Rhode Island, and said, "Well, you two guys are going to co-write a song." And so he had just a germ of an idea, and so we just went back and forth. But this was all by email and by sending recordings, and then we finally got together and did the song. So that was good. And sometimes it'll be like I'm a member of the Rhode Island Songwriters Association, and I was in a showcase, and they have a prompt. The showcase the month before will come up with a prompt for the next month's showcase, and so we had to do. The theme was what if there. It was some esoteric thing. What if there are no more witnesses? That was the theme.
Okay.
And so that's what I ended up working on. Doing a song from that.
And you had it ready a month later?
No, well then actually then the virus started rearing its head, and it was delayed for a month, and we did get it in. So actually I had 2 months to do it. So
what's involved in your editing process?
Sometimes it's just finding how much is necessary, how much I can eliminate. A lot of times I'll look at a lot of my songs when I first write them. They're 5 minutes long or 6 minutes long, which is really too long for most songs. I mean, except for Bob Dylan. But you go to do it, and it's like by the time you're done with the song, even though you think there's a lot of parts that you don't want to let go of, a lot of times people say, "Well, who cares about that?" You have to really say what is necessary to the story, and are you repeating? Like I've had different people who went through my songs says, "Well, you really like." Somebody's pointed out, says, "You really repeat your taglines a lot," and it was like a little bit too. It was almost a little bit too much, so I have to cut that back. Like for the album, I'm hopefully working on again soon. I was working with Jim Henry on the songs, and he says, "Well, you really." He was able sometimes a new set of ears can hear things and say, "Well, you repeat that line an awful lot," which I tend to like the repeat things to just drive things home, but that's kind of my style. Mm-hmm. So that's part of the editing, and then part of it is just shortening. Usually it's shortening. In my case, I need to shorten songs and just find out whether I really need a whole verse. Sometimes it's a whole verse, or do I need that many choruses? I mean, I think when you do things live, it's different. You might want an extra chorus to have people sing along, or sometimes people like to sing along, so
Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit about some of the people who've influenced you in your songwriting. Can you talk about some others that sort of, what is it that they did that inspired you or motivated you?
Some of it depended on the time, on the particular time in my musical journey that like when I was a little kid, sometimes I would watch the Ed Sullivan Show, and I'd see different comedians doing songs. Right, I remember watching. I think it was called "That Was the Week That Was," TV show with, and I think and Tom Lehrer was on that, and I go, "Wow, that's great." And he would kind of write these. I think he was writing them. They were very topical. I mean, very on topic. So that influence, although I don't really do any of his songs or anything like that, he was an influence. Um, Tom Rush was a big influence for me early on. Um, Not so much as a songwriter because he was more somebody that collected songs, but the songs that was how I first heard about James Taylor or Joni Mitchell or Jackson Browne. It wasn't by listening to those people. He was covering them back in the 60s. And so, I remember there was a radio show on WBZ AM on Sunday nights. I think it was called the Dick Summer Subway, and there were a couple of folk shows on it that were on, and I would listen to it down in the basement, and Tom Rush would be on he would bring in reel-to-reel tape recordings of what he was working on, and I got to hear him talk about a lot of different songwriters and stuff like that. And then there were others. I think Tom Paxton was a big, because he could do funny songs and he could do really beautiful, serious songs. Then later on, John Prine was a big model. I would say he was more of a model, and I couldn't write like him, but people would compare me to him sometimes, and I thought, well, that's not really. Go ahead, but I'm not nowhere near that.
So maybe they gave you a sense of the possibilities.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah. I think John Prine made it okay to look at the odd sides of life and the weird the weird things that happen, and so that definitely influenced me. Steve Goodman is another one, that would write funny songs and then sad songs, and so he was another influence.
Yeah. So you mentioned you like to write about small things. What would be a good way to describe it, what you like to write about?
Well, I kind of like to make fun of myself because I think it's a way to minimize. My lights are flashing there. I like to look at the things that are happening around me, and sometimes the things that I might be afraid of, or so it's like I've written songs about death and being paranoid, and songs about sickness and stuff like that. So and it's a way of kind of packaging some of the things that are happening in my life, and so I write about those things. I've written a lot about cars and stuff. I've always been a car nut. I've always had bad cars, but I like to write about them. And traveling, and different, one of the first songs I wrote that stuck around for a while was called The Laundry Pen. And I remember when I was going away to camp for the first time, my mom handed me a laundry pen, and she said, put your name on all your put your name on everything, so you don't lose stuff. And so that became a song: put your name on all your sweaters, put your name on your underwear. And so that was a song that it was about underwear and socks and putting your name on stuff, and so stuff that other people might not see, I guess.
Yeah, so it's like taking small things and making them more important, or
just realizing that they're making them more important, but just noticing them. Yeah.
Okay. So, what method do you follow when you write a song?
I don't think there's a method. I don't really have a method. Usually it starts with the lyrics. Usually it starts with words, and then lately I've had music, and then I'll say, geez, and a lot of times I don't feel, I think I'm a decent guitarist, but I don't like to just play on stage an instrumental. It's pretty rare that there are just so many really good instrumentalists that can play, and it's, so I said, I think I better put some words to that, then I'll feel better. I'll feel more confident if I hide it with some goofy words or something like that. So usually, but then a lot of if there's a method at all, it's that my songs a lot of them they're either stories or conversations about stories. I always think of it as talking to somebody. And that's a way, just putting it into words. Like there's one song, I was asked to write a song about Huntington's disease, which is the disease that my wife had. And it's so complicated because it's it's genetic and it's a brain disease and all that stuff. And I said, well, that's kind of impossible. I told him, I said, it's not going to be possible to write it, but actually it's, I made it a story and a letter. I made it a letter from somebody to somebody else, and then it was easier to encapsulate it into a set of facts and a set of emotions and things like that. And I think that's true of a lot of the other songs that I've done. They're either a letter or a message from somebody or a phone call or,
So you try to get away from the sort of omniscient narrator songwriting process. This happened and that happened and so on.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I have any like that. And I'm sure I do, but, where I'm talking about he did this or, usually it's like, I wish this or I saw you this, I remember when we did this.
Well, Marriage of Convenience is a narrator.
Yeah.
But you get away with it really well. I mean, I never at any point feel like you're dragging me through a story. It's so visual and.
Yeah, actually, you're right. That's one that's a narrator. Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like a narrator. It doesn't have that sort of leaden quality that a narrator might have.
Yeah.
It's such a light song, but also very cool.
Yeah.
So let's see. So co-writing, that's different from writing. What would you describe the difference being?
Well, first of all, I haven't done it that much. I mean, there was one other song where I wrote the music for somebody else that had written some words. That was a while ago, and then co-writing. It's a whole different process, and different people approach it a different ways. Like sometimes people write part of it and then send it to somebody else, and then they work on it and then they send it back and forth. Sometimes people just go in a room and start working on it. I've got these ideas. What do you want to work on? And they kind of hole up for a weekend and write a bunch of songs. Mm-hmm. In my case, we wrote. Ray had an idea of finding a photograph in a notebook of either a lost love or somebody that had passed, and so and then we started working on it, and I came up with the idea of somebody was talking about a learning curve, and I thought, well, the opposite of that might be the forgetting curve, and so I came up with the curve of forgetting, and it's about how it takes a long time to get over something, In this case, it was somebody passing away or some, so that's, and sometimes it won't be, I think sometimes it won't be 50-50, but you just always have to treat it as 50-50. Like it's always going to be, you always have to say, well, I couldn't have gotten there without somebody else, even though maybe I wrote more of the words or something like that. I mean, in this case, we didn't. It was definitely 50-50. I tried to, at one point I was giving him more credit, and he says, nah, he says, then he pointed out all the points where, on the music and on the words, he says, nah, it's equal. Yeah. But, so I don't know, it was a good experience. I'd probably do it again. But.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, while we're talking about people who write songs, what do you recommend to people who are starting out writing songs or people who would like to hone their skills?
Well, don't do what I do, which is not. You just have to write, and you have to write the clunkers to get them out of the way, because you have to write down. I'm starting to once again keep a little journal and write down things, and I used to have a Google Docs, a document online, so it would be on my phone, it would be on my iPad, where I could keep ideas if it was just a phrase I heard. But you really have to be tuned into things that you see or hear, and write down, write stuff down, and then start working on it, I guess. The easiest way to write, I mean, for somebody that's a total beginner, is to maybe take some music that already exists and then write some new words to it. It doesn't necessarily have to be a parody. It could be like Paul Simon's American Song, I think, is written by Bach, I think. So I mean, it doesn't have to be, funny, or you could take an Appalachian fiddle tune and write new words to it. But that's a way to start. Although I have, I've got rhyming dictionaries, and I look up. Sometimes I'll look up words online that rhyme. A rhyming dictionary. A lot of times it has to be something I go through on my head. That I just find the word right away. Otherwise, it seems like it's a force fit. It just works better if I can think of it right off the bat. But that might be me. Other people might have different approaches. Some people like to block out, figure out the story first, and then I have a tendency to just let it happen, and then I start rearranging things, and then it's more like a story editor. I can change the plot of something by moving things around.
Or getting rid of things too. Right?
Yeah, I definitely do that. Yeah. So, or you can, and what you get rid of, you can save for another song.
Yeah, be frugal.
Yeah, I recycle songs. Yeah, I tend to take, if a song doesn't work, then sometimes I'll save the chords. Like the song that I wrote about, the what if there are no more witnesses, that thing, that's kind of it ended up being a goofy song about Alexa. The home, the Amazon thing, that was like the witness.
Okay.
So it's kind of a stretch, but I like the chords that I came up with. So it could be that, I may lose the lyrics completely and write a new song with that.
Mm-hmm. Now, did I understand you right? You're saying at one point you were thinking of doing like serious study with an instructor on songwriting. Is that
Oh,
correct?
I still might do that. Yeah, Susan Catania. She teaches at Berkeley. She's a great singer and a great songwriter too. Anyway, I've played in a couple of showcases with her, and I thought, oh, it'd be good to have somebody just give me assignments and, work on my songs and stuff like that. So then the virus hit, and, it would probably be a good time to do it, because now we could do it by Zoom. It'd probably be better, actually.
Yeah. Save on a commute.
Yeah, save on driving into Boston.
Yeah. So, what would you get out of that? Do you think? What would be the benefit of that?
I think mentoring is always good. I think having somebody push me along, and also the fact that I'd have to pay for it. You kind of want to get your money's worth out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of want to keep moving with it. It's the same thing with any kind of lessons. It's like guitar lessons. There's guitar lessons I'd like to take, and mandolin lessons I'd like to take, and just especially at my age, it kind of keeps the brain working too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, let's see. So you mentioned that one of the things you really enjoyed was hearing someone performing your songs.
Oh yeah.
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 Does that happen often?
Well, your group has done Marriage of Convenience, so that doesn't get old. Especially because it's a whole different. You guys do a whole different take on it. It becomes more of it's slower. It's a little bit slower and a little bit. It's just a different way, and then. Another group, Chunk, that plays at Luthier's. They do my "Please Mr. Squirrel" song, and it becomes a different animal. Pardon the pun.
They do a wonderful job.
Yeah. And I was trying to think if I've had any other. There was one guy that was doing "Love on the Line" live, but I never got to hear that. He passed away, but I never got to hear that. But, So it is. Yeah, it's pretty neat when you hear somebody do a song, because that's something I kind of reserve that for people like Tom Paxton or people that covered John Prine, or so it's definitely an honor.
Yeah, I don't know if you're aware, the theme song for this show is heavily derived from Marriage of Convenience.
It is?
Yeah, it's instrumental intro and outro. So I asked Bruce, who plays the guitar on it, and I said, what should we do? He said, well, I know a great progression, and you know how it goes, so let's do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
You'll notice the next time you listen to it.
Yeah.
But and both he and Chunk are very good at adapting songs, making them their own.
Yeah, and when I do covers, I know this is a show about songwriting, but when I do covers, I almost try to approach it as if I'm creating my own song too. So I think sometimes songwriters need to do. They need to do a few other songs, because that gives people a reference point for how they sound, or where their thinking is too. So I think how you handle a cover, if you do it exactly the way somebody did it, with the same breaks and the same drum roll and everything like that, then you just become a tribute band. But if you take it and do something completely different with it, Um, well, it's like Bonnie Raitt doing "Angel from Montgomery," by John Prine. I mean, she made that. That was her song. It's like she made it her own, kind of. So that's good. And the same thing. Same thing with you guys doing "Marriage of Convenience" and Cha-Chunk doing "Squirrel." I think it's a difference. It's a they're doing their own thing with it, and I think that's really cool.
Perhaps expands the possibilities of what you created.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what other thoughts do you have about songwriting? That you would want to share with our audience or with the world at large?
Just to keep what I need to tell myself is to just keep doing it, and do it more often, and be willing to fail at it. Try it out and test it out and see what people think, or just see, record it and see what you think of it. I mean, it has to meet my my standards for what I want to do. And I never know exactly whether. Sometimes when I started to do a song, I never know if it's going to be. It used to be that I only wanted to write funny songs. I didn't want to be vulnerable or let people know how I was really thinking. So everything was a funny song. That's all I did. And yet people would look at me and say, "How come you're not smiling?" And so I like to, sometimes songs can go either way. Now I'm not afraid to write a sad song or ballad, or some songs have a little bit of both.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you record the songs you write and then play them back to yourself? Is that something you do as a practice? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's. Now with cell phones, you can just record something really quick and listen to it. A lot of times, one of the other things that happens with me, probably because of my age, and probably because of my lungs, is sometimes I have to change words, the phrasing, just to get the words out. I just can't sing fast enough. So, or I'll stumble on words, or I'll find that I'm popping my P's on the microphone or something like that. So sometimes I'll change words just to get through things a little bit easier. And that's true, when I started working on this new album. I was having trouble with certain things, or there'd be certain, not just words, but on the guitar parts, I think, well, geez, maybe I shouldn't try to do that, be so fancy there, where I'm trying to sing words too. It's like, keep it simple through that part.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the break, I can cut loose a little bit. So I don't know. It's all this balancing act of what to do when and how much to do it, and trying not to strain, finding the right keys. That's a lot of times that's a problem with my voice. Figuring out how many beats per measure. How fast to do it, what key to do it in. But that's all part of the process. But that happens pretty late in the process. Usually it just starts out with I'll hear a cliche or a pun, or somebody will say something, or I'll see somebody do something stupid on Facebook or something like that. It can I can think of a song. For example, well, I mean, like the song the Love on the Line, that started out as I heard a commercial where somebody was you know, it was the whole radio. It was a radio commercial, and it was all done on a voicemail machine. You know, and you heard the beep. You know, and it was people talking back and forth, and I thought, oh, what if those people never met? You know, and you know, so I started fooling around with that, and then sometimes you just figure out a punchline at the end, at the very end, and you think, boy, I'm clever. sometimes you just go, oh, that's pretty cool. You know, and sometimes it doesn't. You know, sometimes there isn't a punchline, but those are it's kind of neat when you come up with something that's almost like it's a song, but also it can be a joke. You know, it's like there's something funny at the end that there's a little bit of a twist that builds people up.
So yeah, I notice there are times when you, whether it's obvious or not, but I feel like sort of uplifted or inspired by your songs. They aren't the kind of what we associate generally with that feeling, but it works. It works.
Yeah. Yeah.
So far, so good, I think, is an example of that.
Yeah, that has a little bit of humor and a little bit of poignancy, I guess that's the word.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's how it feels. Well, Peter, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and your experiences with our audience. I know it's not only interesting, but very likely helpful to people who are thinking about, being songwriters or, improving their songwriting chops. Yeah. So, so everyone, thank you to Peter Lehndorff, and thank you for tuning in.
All right. Thanks a lot, Dan.
Yep. Thanks for watching our show. I'd like to acknowledge the support of the Western Mass Songwriters Collaborative, promoting the original music scene in Western Massachusetts. If you want to learn more about the collaborative, go to their Facebook page. Thanks for watching. I'm Dr. Dan. I hope you'll tune in again for the show that puts a spotlight on songwriters.